It seems TVC News is clearing all awards in broadcast this year. TVC News correspondent in Nigeria's federal capital, Sumner Sambo, has won the TV category of the WSCIJ Award for investigative journalism with his story on cattle rustling in northern Nigeria. The WSCIJ Center for Investigative Journalism is a non-profit, non-governmental organization established in 2005. The center aims at promoting social justice in Nigeria by encouraging the practice of investigative journalism as a mechanism for exposing corruption, regulatory failures, and human rights violations in the country. TVC News has, for 2 years in a row, won these prestigious awards. And we now have joining us one of the winners, Sumner Sambo, in the studio, and my favorite reporter. Good to have you join us. I'm excited, more excited than you are.
Thanks
Thanks
so much,
for joining
Ugochi.
us. How do you feel this day?
Congratulations.
Well, I feel very happy, feel so elated by this award, but the greatest joy is that the voice of the community is being heard, and it's not just one community. There are several communities that are facing this problem of cattle rustling, and it cuts across Nigeria, Niger Republic, Mali, and Central African Republic. So we did this story just to showcase what the communities are facing, and
Cattle rustling, the report which earned you this great feat and award. What was peculiar to this report?
Well, the peculiar thing about this report is that so many armed bandits within the West African region actually come down to Nigeria, and it not only Nigeria, but they enter into several countries, rustling, cattle, trying to get, cows that are well fed, so that, when they take them to the market, they will be sold at a much more higher price. And it's a terrible situation for these farming communities who just wake up after training a bull for almost a year, 2 years. One night, someone just comes around showing you a gun, and he kills some people in trying to rustle this cattle, and it's a big problem, and it's a nightmare. Now, these farming communities are not only scared about their cattle, but they're also scared about themselves, because so many persons have died in that instance. And so that's why TVC News decided to do this exploratory investigation into what the problem was, because the initial thoughts were that it was insurgency that's related to Boko Haram and all of that, while not absolving Boko Haram of rustling some cows once in a while just to feed themselves. Nevertheless, this is a specialized group of bandits who go around these West African countries, and especially in Nigeria. We have this Rugu forest that stretches for about 6 states in the northern part of the country, and then it borders the Niger Republic, and then so that serves as a route. And when they come into the country, it's a big-time nightmare for these farming communities.
That's good. We've often wondered how come herders are they have so much weapon. We've asked them.
Even their women have AK-47.
Yes. We asked them, and they tell us
to know that.
They say it's because of cattle rustlers. And how do you think your award would encourage other young journalists who are interested in actually reporting the effects of people go through every day in their lives? How do you think this would encourage them? Well,
I think the award, basically what we do at TVC News here, will really serve as a boost to so many young journalists, because the thing is that there is a dearth of investigative journalism in Nigeria and Africa generally because of funding issues. Of course, investigative journalism takes lots of time. Like this story that we did, we had to serialize it, and it took like about 2 weeks, for example, for me to come up with this story, because there were lots of dimensions to it, both from the angle of the government, security services, farming communities, cattle herders, and of course the cattle rustlers. But we couldn't get the cattle rustlers because we don't know where to see them. So with all of this, the nexus here is that journalists who want to get into communities that are not frequently reported can do so, and if they win the feelings of the members of the community, the members of the community will be willing to give information that will help such journalists to investigate the issues. Like, for example, when we got to some of these communities, they served as a security for us, because it seems that there were no soldiers or policemen in those areas any longer. So they decided to serve as a shield for us. They took us to various areas where some of these cattle rustlers come through and through that forest and all of that. So it's a very tough call for you to go into deeper areas or issues of investigation, because sometimes it has to do with your own personal security and all of that. But the thing is that once you are able to win the hearts and minds of the communities, it's a much more easier. And then with big organizations like TVC News going into that, I think there is prospects that Nigerians and Africans will get nothing short of the best. And with organizations like the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, I mean, it means people can get rewarded for helping to bring the stories of poor people or affected communities. And
I'm curious to know, when you embarked on, this report, did you think it will fetch you this award?
Not really, but when the opportunities came, I was like, oh, this story actually qualifies to be one of the best stories around. Because the things that when we showed it, you needed to see the enthusiasm. Even on YouTube, people kept watching over and over. And just last week, as if the person knew I was going to win the award, one of our viewers posted on my social media page that there's a story I did on cattle rustling that he keeps watching over and over, and then that they are so happy that their story is being told, that the few educated ones among them had been seeing how the government and other agencies, especially the security services, could help out, but there was no voice. But here we were, TVC News, with all, with how big we are, actually coming into their community. So it's a thing of pride, and it's a thing of joy, and great my joy especially goes to the TVC News crew here, to all of you who make us look lovely, and to our directors who took the...
Congratulations to
our
you.
reporter who did a
can I quickly touch it?
Thank you, Sumner Sambo.
Congratulations, Sumner.
Thanks so much.
Well, we'll take a break and come back with more stories on TVC News Hour.